cash and never look back, no never. Cause I'm still young looking in the mirror, still trying to be the best of my era. Might get a bit tipsy, might mix a cold cup with a whiskey.
What is up there? Good morning, it is Danny here and welcome to Australia. Right now it's like 7 AM in the morning. We are already on our way out to the gym. After spending already over 6 weeks in Australia, I'm gonna do a little recap. I'm gonna talk about prices, how expensive is this place, because very often you hear Australia is extremely expensive. In some ways, it maybe is, and this is what we're gonna discover today by actually doing this stuff. Right now we're gonna take the train to the city, gonna go to the gym, gonna go grocery shopping, just clothing shopping, everything. I'm gonna show you the city and I'm gonna give you a recap of the prices. Let's go. We got to the city center and we actually got off a little bit too early, so I had to walk, but very calm right now. It's Sunday, still pretty early, and the train ticket is at €2.80, I believe, €2.80 Australian dollars, so that is a little bit less than €2, a little bit over $2. Can't complain. And we had around a 20-minute ride, so like 7 or 8 stations, so that would be definitely more expensive in Germany and probably in every other European major city. So thumbs up. Right, so working out here at the Jets Fitness Brisbane City Center. So I'm paying here $12.95 a month. We signed up together, me and my girlfriend. So $12.95 4 weeks, that's gonna be $52, 52 Australian dollars. I'm gonna put it down here in euro and in US dollars. So it's the cheapest gym around here, and it's maybe a little bit more expensive than my gym back at home, but overall, it's alright. You decide. Now I'm just thinking, this gym looks actually very, very cool. So it's big, it's probably the biggest Jets that I've yet seen. Usually they are very small, so big recommendations going out to Jets Fitness Central. Okay, so got done at the gym. Overall, decently priced, but definitely more than in Germany. But I gotta say, in comparison to the US, it's alright. For now, we're gonna get into the city, check out the shopping streets, out overall shopping opportunities, and if it's more expensive than other places. And Judy's already in town, so let's see where she is.
Cause I'm still young looking in the mirror, still trying to be the best of my era. Might get a bit tipsy, might mix a cold cup with a whiskey. I'm
looking around here in the supermarket, and I gotta say, some things are the same price. Some things are a little bit more expensive, others are so much more expensive. So to really break that down, I'm probably gonna talk afterwards once we're gonna get home. But what is really cool is that they have the store in the middle of the city.
Cause I'm still young looking in the mirror, still trying to be the best of my era. Might get a bit tipsy.
Just got out of the food mall. We had 2 pieces of sushi for $2.60 Australian dollars. So this is probably cheaper than in Germany. What would you say?
Yeah.
A little bit, but still fine. In terms of groceries, fruits and vegetables are a lot more expensive. So that's a negative. She's looking for my
$10.
So I'm gonna do a full grocery shopping day in one of the next videos, show you everything. What I do feel like is pretty cool here in Australia is that they have all the stores that, you know, we globally have, Zara, H&M, all the big chains, and they are priced similarly, but also the sales are at the same time. So right now January is like, for Europe, it's winter sale, here is probably more like a summer sale, but pretty much same prices. But also they have very different stores, like this one right now, I've never seen it before, very nicely decorated, kind of like a beachy vibe. Let me show you around.
Might get a bit tipsy, might mix a cold cup with a whiskey.
So today is the 27th of January and it's the first day this year that it's actually raining. So lucky me that I decided to film today. So not the best weather, but let me show you the central station of the city.
Still young looking in the mirror, still trying to be the best of my era. Might get a bit tipsy, might mix a cold cup with a whiskey. I'ma spend all my money, can't get enough, so sweet like honey.
Hello! Is it too wet for you outside? So that's Australia for you. The 1 second it's raining like crazy, and the other second blue sky, and the sun is gonna dry this all up in like a few minutes. Molly, wanna be in a vlog? Alright, so I would say let's just sit down and talk it out. Prices in Australia, how expensive is it really? So, to give this video more of a rational base and not just talk about the way I feel, I did some research and I think I'm gonna divide this into food and groceries, how much that costs, then transportation, going out, alcohol, accommodation of course, as well, and just free time activities. So let's just jump in there. First of all, food, grocery shopping. This is where I was surprised because very many products are a little bit more expensive. Some are a lot more expensive, like let's say vegetables. Most of them, just tomatoes, are quite expensive. Fruits, I would say 10 or 20% more expensive than in Europe. I would say meat, eggs are slightly more expensive. Milk is pretty much same price. And when I say it's slightly more expensive, I mean, and just in the last few months, we have been traveling in Europe, we have been traveling in the United States, and this is what I mostly compare it to. But then there are products, really like everyday products, like noodles or rice. Let's just stick with the noodles, which are 30 or 40% less expensive, like extremely cheap. I'm talking like 60 Australian cents, which are like 40 European cents, or like 45, 50 American pennies. So really less, probably the cheapest noodles that I've seen so far. Maybe they have been cheaper in Ukraine, I'm not sure. Tuna, canned tuna. Usually I don't buy it in Germany because I don't feel it has a good value for the money what you get. Here it's like 30-40% cheaper, so it's like $1.15 the cheapest tuna. And in Germany it's like 140 euros, so like almost 2 Australian dollars, almost 40% cheaper. I would say overall it is a little bit more expensive, especially because of the fruits and the vegetables. But if you're gonna stick to the basic product, muesli, oats, you can definitely find a way to really live here on a small budget when you go grocery shopping a lot. Alright, and now let's get into eating out. So just go into a restaurant, go into a pub, maybe getting a beer, and this is where the most hate about Australia is starting. People are saying alcohol is extremely ridiculously expensive, and yes, it is. So if you're into drinking, if you're thinking about coming to Australia and having a drink every other day, it's gonna be expensive for you. But what you have to also consider is, I've been reading an article when I looked up prices for Australia on the internet, and one guy was really complaining. He said, like, I went into a bar in Melbourne and I had to pay $8, and I'm pretty sure it was Australian dollars, for a beer. Sounds a lot, is pretty much a lot. In Germany that would cost less. And then he was saying even in London, in such an expensive city, in quotation marks, that what he called it, paid £4 for a pint of beer. But I don't know what's happening there. I feel like a lot of people forget to convert the currency from Australian dollars to US dollars, from Australian dollars to pounds, because £4 at the moment are 7 Australian dollars, and the pound is as weak as it haven't been in many years. So this is pretty much pointless. What he said is that the beer here costs the same as in London. And you just gotta understand, there's a huge tax here on alcohol and tobacco, so if that's something that you're into a lot, it's gonna be expensive for you. But personally, for me, I'm able to avoid it mostly. Maybe have a beer like once a month, and that's not gonna make any difference. So let's get to transportation, and what you have to keep in mind is that I mostly right now talk about Queensland, so Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, and transportation here is definitely less expensive than in Europe. So to get from the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane, which is like 1.5-2 hour train ride, cost us $10, and all the connecting buses are included in that. So $10 is like €6.66, it's like $7.50, which I would say is definitely not expensive and less expensive. In Germany, a train ride from one city to the other would cost like at least €6. Some would be like 6 and 15 euros, so double the price pretty much. So therefore, public transportation here in Queensland is expensive than in Europe, and somewhat, I would say, same price as the United States as far as I've experienced it in California, in New York City. And now let's get to accommodation. And I gotta say, for this point, this is gonna be the main reason why I'm gonna do one of these videos again, once we're gonna have been spending more time in Australia, because as of this moment, we have been mostly living with relatives and friends. Right now, we are on a lookout for an apartment, for a room in the city of Brisbane. So I kind of have an idea, and I gotta say that accommodation here definitely is not on the cheap side. Is what I've been looking into by now is that if you are a backpacker and you really want to stay on a low budget, there are options for like $120 a week, so like $480 a month, which if you convert it to euro is like, what is it, 250, 300, $300, $350. I'm sorry, I'm all the time playing around with the currencies. But if you actually want to get a room, maybe a small apartment, I feel like it's a little bit more expensive than in a big city, let's say in Germany. So I would say accommodation, also in terms of hotels, I looked it up on booking.com. And after traveling to pretty much most of the countries in Europe, I gotta say that it's pretty much on the same level. So the cheapest hotels, and not hostels, I'm talking where you get an actual room for yourself, are starting from like 30 to 40 euros, so like 40, 50 American dollars, which I would say is also in the United States and all over Europe. This is going to be the base price that you have to calculate with. But if you go to somewhere like Southeast Asia, there you can get going already with like $10, $15, 10 euro. Here, definitely not possible. And another big point is gasoline in Australia. If you're thinking about renting out a car, maybe buying a car if you're gonna do like a work and travel here. And also I've seen on the internet people complaining about expensive gas here in Australia. And I've just looked it up, and Australia is in the top 10 cheapest gasolines in the world. Like in Ukraine the gas is more expensive. In other European cities, in Germany, they say the United States has one of the cheapest gases, but this is pretty much it. Other than that, Australia is either similarly priced or cheaper. So therefore also I feel like for some reason there's a misconception. And the last thing that I want to mention is free time activities. As an example, movie theater. We checked out a few and it usually was around 15 Australian dollars, which in my opinion is kind of expensive. It's like 10 euro, and back at home we pay somewhere between like 6 and 8 euros, so like 20-30% less. But on a Tuesday they had like a cheap movie Tuesday, and we paid only 5 Australian dollars, which is ridiculously cheap. This is like in Southeast Asia price and like one of the cheaper ones. So the point that I want to come down to with that is there is always a way with almost any place to be able to fit it your budget. The conclusion of this video is going to be the accommodation is definitely on the more expensive side. You can compare it to Europe, you can compare it to the bigger cities in the United States. Other point is groceries. Pretty much evenly priced with Europe. A lot of things are even less expensive. Just another example, dates. I really love dates, and here they are probably the cheapest dates in the world. $1.50 for half a kilo. Nowhere in the world I've seen it to be so cheap. And also local fruits like mangoes, passion fruit is a lot less expensive than if you want to get it somewhere where you have to export it to. Everyone who's watching now and who watched until the end, the purpose of this video is to motivate everyone who was thinking about going to Australia and who thinks it's gonna totally break his budget. And it's up to you if it's gonna happen or not. Because if you're gonna come here and your goal is gonna be to live in a very nice place, to go out to eat and drink all the time, it's gonna be really expensive. And I feel like this is why Australia got this image of being super expensive, because of expensive alcohol and expensive tobacco. This is my take on it personally, because so far grocery shopping, transportation, and a few other things have been actually less expensive than other places that have been before, United States, Europe, and so on. This was my first impression of the first 6 weeks in Australia. In the next few months we're gonna do some more traveling. We're gonna go to Sydney. We want to definitely check out some of the islands here in Australia. And I think then again I'm gonna do kind of like a recap on how my opinion maybe changed, because so far I would say definitely come here. One of the most beautiful places, one of the most beautiful beaches, and the prices are not as bad as you may think. And with that, thank you very much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Got a world to see.
Tipsy, might mix a coke up with a whiskey. I'ma spend all my money, can't get enough, so it's be like